In a significant escalation of military activity in the Middle East, Israeli forces have advanced deep into Syrian territory, reportedly crossing the Golan Heights buffer zone and moving toward the outskirts of Damascus. According to credible reports, Israeli tanks have reached the city of Qatana, situated just 22 kilometers from the Syrian capital, marking an unprecedented military incursion into the war-torn country. Earlier in the week, Israeli forces also captured Mount Hermon, a strategic location critical for surveillance and control in the region. These actions have further inflamed tensions, raising alarms across the Middle East and drawing sharp reactions from key international stakeholders. The Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, initiated this operation under a veil of secrecy, with no prior announcements or public disclosures. Initial reports suggest that the tanks began their advance early in the morning, crossing the demilitarized buffer zone established under United Nations supervision as part of the 1974 Armistice Agreement. The rapid advance through the buffer zone and into Qatana indicates a well-planned military maneuver, with the city's proximity to Damascus underscoring the significance of this bold move. While the Israeli government has not officially commented on the objectives of this operation, military analysts believe it is part of a broader strategy to secure key territories and preempt potential threats emanating from the current instability in Syria. The recent collapse of Bashar al-Assad's regime has created a power vacuum, with various factions, including militant groups, vying for control. For Israel, this instability poses heightened security risks, particularly concerning Iranian-backed militias such as Hezbollah, which have historically operated in southern Syria. The strategic significance of Qatana cannot be overstated. As one of the closest urban centers to Damascus, control of Qatana provides Israeli forces with a foothold for monitoring and potentially influencing developments in the Syrian capital. Moreover, it places Israeli forces within striking distance of key military installations that have long been associated with Iranian and Hezbollah operations. By advancing toward Qatana, Israel may be signaling its intent to curb the influence of these groups and ensure that southern Syria does not become a staging ground for attacks against Israeli territory. The earlier capture of Mount Hermon also plays a critical role in this unfolding scenario. Straddling the borders of Israel, Syria, and Lebanon, Mount Hermon is a vital strategic asset, offering unparalleled visibility and control over a vast area. By securing Mount Hermon, Israeli forces have significantly enhanced their surveillance capabilities, allowing for real-time monitoring of activities across southern Syria. This move also serves as a defensive measure, ensuring that no hostile groups can use the mountain as a vantage point for launching attacks against Israel. Reactions to these developments have been swift and polarized. Syrian opposition groups, who recently celebrated the toppling of the Assad regime, have condemned the Israeli incursion, describing it as a blatant violation of Syria's sovereignty. In a statement, opposition leaders accused Israel of exploiting Syria's internal chaos to advance its own strategic interests, while also warning that such actions could provoke further instability in the region. Some factions have even called for resistance against what they perceive as an occupation, raising concerns about potential clashes between Israeli forces and local militias. Iran, a longtime ally of the Assad regime, has also reacted with outrage. Tehran has accused Israel of using the Syrian crisis as a pretext for aggression, warning that its actions could have serious consequences. Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir-Abdollahian described the Israeli incursion as a dangerous escalation and reiterated Iran's commitment to supporting its allies in the region. Hezbollah, another key player with significant influence in Syria, has reportedly begun mobilizing its forces in response to Israel's advances, signaling the potential for direct confrontation. The international community has expressed deep concern over the escalation. Russia, which has maintained a military presence in Syria and has historically supported the Assad regime, has called for restraint on all sides. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov emphasized the need for dialogue and warned against actions that could further destabilize the region. Meanwhile, the United Nations has urged all parties to adhere to international law and respect Syria's territorial integrity, highlighting the risks of an unchecked conflict spiraling out of control. The United States, a key ally of Israel, has so far remained silent on the specific details of the operation but is undoubtedly monitoring the situation closely. Washington has long supported Israel's right to defend itself, particularly against threats from Iranian-backed militias. However, the timing and scale of this operation could complicate U.S. diplomatic efforts in the region, particularly in light of its own engagements in Iraq and Syria. The implications of these developments are far-reaching. For Israel, the incursion into Qatana and the capture of Mount Hermon represent both a strategic gain and a calculated risk. While these actions may bolster Israel's security in the short term, they also carry the potential for backlash from regional powers and non-state actors. The presence of Israeli forces so close to Damascus could be perceived as a direct challenge to Syria's sovereignty and a provocation to its allies, particularly Iran and Hezbollah. For Syria, these developments add another layer of complexity to an already fragile situation. The fall of the Assad regime has left the country fragmented, with no clear authority to manage its borders or respond to external threats. The lack of a unified government in Damascus creates opportunities for foreign intervention, but it also increases the likelihood of prolonged conflict as various factions compete for control. The risk of escalation cannot be ignored. With Israeli forces advancing deep into Syrian territory, the possibility of direct clashes with Iranian or Hezbollah elements is high. Additionally, the incursion could provoke reactions from other regional actors, including Turkey and Russia, further complicating the geopolitical landscape. The situation also raises questions about the future of Syria's relationship with its neighbors and the role of international actors in shaping the country's post-Assad era. As the region braces for the potential fallout, the world watches closely. The coming days will be critical in determining whether this operation remains a localized maneuver or sparks a broader conflict with implications for the entire Middle East. For now, the Israeli advance toward Qatana marks a turning point in the Syrian conflict, one that could reshape the region's dynamics for years to come.